Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. If Aquarius is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Aquarius, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And we start with the Magician. You are a very intelligent person. You are someone who has an ability to build rapport. I feel like you're very adaptable, right? You can be dropped in any situation and you can find a way to make it work. Very resilient, very elastic, very adaptable. But just because we can adapt to something doesn't mean we really need to, right? Some situations we shouldn't just accept and find a way to make it as good as possible, right? Some things we need to change. Some things we need to say, I'm out of here, right? The Magician is capable of both changing our own shape and changing the shape of our reality, okay? It's magic. It's our ability to cause change in conformity with will. It's also our ability to be moldable and pliable and adaptable and change shape and shift and adjust and be versatile, right? But it's also our ability to change the things in the external world that we don't want to adapt to. I don't want to get used to that. So I can find some way to change that thing or to make it different or to, and it usually is a bit of both, right? It's usually not one or the other. So I wonder if in your life right now there's a situation for which you're going to need this magic, this ability to interface. This is kind of this is the card of the persona, This is the card of us with our ability to sort of shapeshift, sort of, to alter our behavior depending on context. Okay, that our personality, our persona needs to be elastic. And we need to be able to kind of mold it into different shapes at different times. Okay? Who do you need to become right now in the situation you're in? Let's put this card into a little bit of context. Now let's see what's going on here. We have a Two of Pentacles. We have the Change. Oh, we've got the Tower. Okay. Three of Wands. Okay, Six of Cups. And the Ace of Pentacles. The two becoming one. The Six of Cups, maybe a family situation. I feel like there's a bit of an energy storm coming. Okay? I feel like this is something that is kind of sneaking up to surprise you. And it's going to test your virtue. It's going to test your magic. Okay? The Magician this is going to be your best ally. This is going to be you right now. And I think we need to be prepared for this kind of, unexpected situation. I feel like this is a kind of an energy storm. Here we have Love, Two of Cups, Five of Swords, a Five of Wands, and Four. All right, a Four. So it's settling down. I feel like this is in some ways, this is your magical circle of protection. I feel like this is you setting personal boundaries. This is your personal sovereignty. This is you in a sacred ritual space that is not allowing any of this negative energy to penetrate. Okay, I feel like it's also saying that things are going to get a little bit hectic for you, but they're going to settle down. But you have to be the Magician. You have to use this combination of adaptability and initiating change. So it's kind of like, let's adapt to the things that we cannot change and change the things that we can. That's kind of the Magician's motto there. And I think that's exactly what we're doing, but we are setting boundaries for sure. I feel like it's a family thing going on, okay? And I feel like there's a storm brewing for sure. Okay, and I do feel like it has to do with the Six of Cups. It's the family thing. It's almost in a way, this is the way you're looking at things and thinking everything's fine, but then here comes that tower erupting from underneath, right? So it's things may seem okay, but we don't want to be caught off guard, because when that tower moment happens. But see, that's the thing about the tower. It always catches us off guard. We're never expecting it. If we were, it wouldn't be a tower. It would just be another day. So the tower is necessarily something that's going to disrupt what we thought was something totally fine. Right? Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down right here with the Eight of Pentacles, our little octopus friend, right there on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end. We'll tie everything together, and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. Okay? If at any point during this message you feel like you might know what that card is, put your prediction in the comments down below. Let's look around the room. We see two major arcana energies, don't we? We see the Magician and the Tower. A good test of the Magician is how it deals with the Tower. Okay, when a tower moment happens, and I feel like this is really, to me, calling it the energy storm. Okay, because I feel like there's going to be a need for us to react and adapt and be flexible and elastic with whatever's happening in order to bring about the stability and restore the harmony. Okay, so these two are very, I feel like this is the best card you could have for an energy storm like a tower. The best thing we can do is be a magician. In some ways, it's kind of like the magician is the one who you kind of want on your team, because if anything were to go wrong, the magician can just sort of like poof, there it is, fix it. So it's a way of us dealing with the unexpected. How well are we able to roll with the punches? Yeah. How well are we able to handle the unexpected, stuff that happens? It's almost like when you're training for something, right? And the trainer kind of says, okay, let's throw some wild and crazy things at them to see how they react. I think of like astronauts in a space shuttle kind of simulator, right? And all the trainers outside are saying, okay, well, let's make some things fail. Let's blow up the engine. Let's get rid of the air. Let's see how they react, And we see how well they can adapt to the situation and mold them and shape them into the very best possible outcome. Okay? And so to me, it has that kind of it has that simulation kind of vibe of like the astronauts in the little training simulator thing. And I feel like it's not, I feel like it's not a simulation. Okay? I feel like this is something that's taking place in your life that is going to bring you to a very important choice in your life. You're going to have to choose your behavior, and choose it carefully, right? And I think that your behavior has to stem from this Two of Cups, the self-love. It has to stem from love, generally, the super glue that holds everything together. How you react to this situation is gonna determine everything. Okay? You have to set boundaries. You have to maintain your personal sovereignty, but you have to try to behave in a way that's going to bring about the best possible outcome, like I said. So we've got our majors. We've got fire and fire and fire. We've got a couple of water cards. We've got our air card and a little tiny bit of earth energy, the two and the ace. The Three of Wands in the background, I feel like you know yourself fairly well. I feel like you have a very, you're like a proud person. You have a strong identity. I think you know kind of who you are, and you know what you're made of. Yeah. This is the card of virtue. Yeah. And I sort of feel as if your virtue, sticking to what you believe in, doing the right thing, okay, is very important to you. And I feel like in the recent past, you sort of, you did the right thing. Yeah. I don't know the situation, but you upheld your virtue in some way. And this was very important for you. And I wonder if I wonder if this has to do with that family relationship, and it wasn't your intention, but you maintaining your virtue is sort of someone else is reacting poorly to that. And that's where the energy storm is coming from. Does that make sense for you? Because I feel, and I'm trying to word this in a way where it doesn't seem like, oh, because you stood up for yourself, that's the reason why all this chaos is happening, so it's your fault. No, it's not. Someone else is having a bad reaction to you, okay? And you've done nothing wrong. That's the message here. That the virtue of this incident, right, is not in question. That you did the right thing. If there is a nasty reaction from someone else or from the family or from, from other people or another person, whether it's one or many, I don't know. It's not your fault. And so that is something that we have to get rid of right away. I don't think you know it's not your fault. You have the Two of Cups as your general energy. You know you did the right thing. So, I'm preaching to the choir here, okay? But I had to say it anyway. The reaction from others is not a very positive reaction, but you stood your ground. You stood up for yourself. You sort of, you asserted yourself and your identity and perhaps your sovereignty. Maybe this was you enforcing a boundary. We got the 3 of Wands, 4 of Wands, 5 of Wands. Maybe this was you asserting a boundary and kind of keeping sense, saying, no, this is my boundary. And if it caused a shit show somewhere else in life, excuse my language, that's not your fault, right? When you establish a boundary in your life and somebody crosses it and you have to say, hey, you know what, get out of here. And they start to get angry about that. Where does what's the cause? Where's the root of that, So somebody, I think, does not like the fact that you have some sort of boundary in your life. It could be a family member, okay? It could have something to do with some sort of jewel property. Spirit's showing me a ring, like an old-timey kind of ring, and I don't know if it belonged to like a grandma or great-grandma or something like that, but there's some kind of a ring there. I don't know if this is a dispute over some sort of inheritance or property or some kind of estate or something like this. But I do feel that you setting boundaries is a good thing. And somebody else reacting poorly to your boundaries, that is on them, right? That is on them. The 6 of Cups at the top, again, this is kind of suggesting that there's a family thing going on. The 6 of Cups for me is a card of family. It's a card of harmony. And sometimes this is like the harmony at work, the harmony in our personal lives, the harmony at school, the harmony with the family or with our friend group. It feels like everything's fine. As this is the card, everything feels good. Here we are going along our merry way, and then there's this storm brewing underneath, okay? You're somebody who values your family and your friends and the harmony of life, and that harmony is kind of like your personal harmony as well. Your own physical health and well-being, This is, in some interpretations for me, this card is about the 6 pillars of our health. It's our intentional eating, intentional movement, it's sleep, it's stress reduction, it is substance management, relationships, and in the middle, right, the sort of 7th planet, the sun, right, it would be the sense of purpose. And so I feel like in one of those areas, somebody crossed a boundary or you established a boundary and someone is having a bad reaction to that boundary. And so now this energy storm that's brewing is it's starting to interfere with one or more of those pillars of health or well-being or happiness, right? And I think that's why we get from the 6, we kind of devolve into a 5 temporarily. Okay, this beautiful harmony that we're experiencing is kind of going to turn into a little bit of chaos for a minute. Okay, there is this this is the energy storm. Okay, and the tower underneath, maybe this is even something that we did when we established this boundary. We kind of said no to something maybe, or we put an end to something, or we stopped something abruptly, right? And someone's having a reaction to that. Okay. The aces are the ace and the 2 of Pentacles here. I think are important, because the magician is responsible for change. How are we changing? How are we changing the situation now? What did we change before? Maybe it's maybe you made a big change in your life, and that, through no fault of yours, upset somebody else. And again, they're having a bad reaction. Okay? It doesn't mean that your decision, your choice, or your change was incorrect. It may just mean that that person, for whatever reason, has an issue with it. And that's their problem, but of course you have to deal with that too. So the Two of Pentacles becomes our ability to act and react to something. You know, when the waves of the ocean, right, are going up and down and it's side to side, right? How do we maintain balance? How do we keep ourselves sort of centered and upright through all the twists and turns and the ups and downs? If things are shaking, right, we have to find some way to have stability. So I feel like you're very, very intelligently and even strategically figuring out like what moves to make. Yeah, and what we have too with the Two of Pentacles, we have this sort of, you know, the ups and downs and twists and turns. But here we have a more of a stability, right? With the Ace, we have a unity. Okay. So the last thing we want, what this kind of configuration tells me, is the last thing that we want to do is appear indecisive. And that kind of speaks over here to our Five of Swords in the environment as well. We don't want to appear as if we are unsure now, because then people are going to see an in. People are going to see a way in, okay, Aquarius is sort of doubting themselves. Now's my chance to slip in between the vacillations. Someone's going to feel like they can get an in on you, right? So we don't want to appear as if we're not sure. We need that confidence of that Three of Wands that says, this is my decision and I'm sticking to it. And there is nothing you can say that's going to get me to change that. It's kind of like, you know, when somebody wants to enter your space, right? And you say no, but they persist. And you say, well, I mean, I don't know. Then they're going to think, okay, they're wavering. I'm gonna win. They're gonna crumble. So we have to be firm in those boundaries that we set. We don't want to be kind of wishy-washy about it. Yeah. So I feel that's kind of the Ace here, that we have that unity. There is no doubt in you. There is no vacillation. I feel like you are setting rules for your life. You're setting boundaries for the people in your life, maybe a particular person, and there's no tolerance to that. Okay, there's no tolerance. Was there a car accident recently or something like this? I feel like there was something damaged the vehicle, the family car or your friend's car or something. Yeah. Let's talk about the path of the serpent, and we'll start with the Two of Cups. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. These readings are totally free. The reason why we're setting boundaries is, of course, because of love. Two of Cups, we love ourselves. This is your general energy. It's love. It's the super glue that's holding everything together. Because you love yourself and you value yourself, you are setting boundaries in your life. You are maintaining this personal sovereignty, even when it's difficult. Even when it sort of elicits a bad response from somebody and we get this energy storm, you love yourself enough to say, I need to set these boundaries and I don't care who has a problem with it. You know, and I feel like it's a family member. I feel like it's someone in your family that, like, I don't know if you kick them out of your house, or you told them they're not welcome at your home anymore, or you don't want to talk to them anymore, something like this, right? And it may be causing a disruption in the rest of the family. But you love yourself enough to say, I don't care. I have to do this because it's the right thing to do for me. So if we went back on our word and we eased the boundary and we opened up the boundaries, then that would sort of be a violation of our own self-love. Okay? So this has to be a really, really strong, this has to be a super glue, right? That's holding you to this decision because you're worth it. All right? Because you value yourself and your well-being. And it's kind of like, maybe this is like you want to protect your family, so you are you're setting boundaries for, you know, what can or cannot enter your family life or your personal life. Okay? And it's because of your love for this sort of inner circle Yeah. That we're willing to risk there being this energy storm kind of taking place, right? The Five of Swords in the environment. Somebody is questioning your boundaries. Somebody is trying to like convince you that your boundaries are frivolous or unfair or whatever. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. Your decision, it's your boundary, it's your personal space. What you say goes, you know? I feel like this is a mistrust for somebody. I feel like there's somebody in your life that you have doubts about, and so you make a rule that, okay, that person's not allowed around my family or whatever, right? Or that person's not allowed to like watch my dog, you know? And it's because I don't know, if we're suspicious of somebody or we have doubts or we just have a kind of funny feeling about them. Go with it. Trust in that. Trust in yourself. Okay? I'm happy that this card is in the environment and not in the position of the general energy. If this was down here, I would say, look, you don't trust yourself and you're connecting with people that you don't believe that this is a safe connection for you. Thankfully, we have it this way. I'm very, very happy that we have these cards this way because you love yourself enough that, yeah, you're going to be suspicious of everybody a little bit. And that's okay. You're protecting something that's very important to you. Your heart, your family, your dog, whatever it is, your home. And so we're kind of maybe questioning everybody's motives a little bit right now. And so it's good to have boundaries, not for isolation. We don't want to keep all the good stuff out, right? We want to keep the bad stuff out. We want to keep the good stuff in, the bad stuff out. So we're going to be, when somebody knocks at the door, you don't just open it wide and close your eyes and say, come on in. No, you look through the peephole or you look out the window or you say, who is it? I mean, it's just kind of general common sense practices, right? So it's the same way energetically. We don't have to let everybody into our energy. We can say, who are you and what are you all about before I let you in? What is it that this person really wants with me here? What is this exchange all about? And the Magician is that wisdom, that can do these things and isn't so concerned about how other people are going to react. Now, the Magician has to be aware of how it is interfacing with other people. So we want tact. We want strategy. We want subtlety. We don't just want, abrasive, kind of belligerence, We want strategy and tact and subtlety, wisdom and communication. And maybe that is, the effective way that we can communicate our boundaries without being belligerent and abrasive. Okay? So that's the sort of fluidity of the Magician, knows how to build rapport with people, knows how to communicate effectively. And is not just, as the Five of Wands might seem, not just like fighting people off. We're not just yelling and screaming at people when they're just like, whoa, I just was like delivering your newspaper. Like, we can communicate in a more, I don't know if you want to say professional manner, but we can still be very assertive. Now, this is the Five of Wands, obviously. It's in the position of the difficulty for you. And maybe sometimes it's difficult for you to stand up for yourself. Maybe sometimes it's difficult, maybe the other way around. Maybe it's sometimes difficult for you not to just go straight to like level 10 yelling at somebody. Sometimes we need to. I was thinking the other day, sometimes anger is the appropriate response to people. Sometimes it is. There's a reason why as human beings we have that capability of feeling angry. Sometimes anger is the right response. Don't be afraid of being angry sometimes. Control yourself. Be the master magician of your own life. But sometimes it's okay to use that anger, just as we can use our suspicion or our doubt or our questioning or even that funny feeling about people. We can use these energies in productive ways. We can be proactive. Okay, so this energy storm is here, but you're prepared for it. You're asserting your boundaries, you're setting boundaries, you're protecting your personal sovereignty. The Four of Wands is saying that this thing is going to pass by. And when there's a storm, an energy storm, what do? You go inside, you shut the doors, and you seal the windows, and My wife just the other day was telling us about the dust storms that they have in certain areas, overseas and things. About the dust storms and stuff, and how it's like maybe for days you'll be like just trapped in your house because there's this dust storm outside and you can't go outside. You got to shut the windows, seal the doors, and just like wait it out, And so I kind of feel like that's what we're doing here with this. We're creating our boundaries, and we're protecting those boundaries, and we're not letting anything in until this storm passes, until this energy sort of, until it dissipates, and things will stabilize. This will pass you by very quickly, but we don't want to engage with it in such a way that's going to make things worse for us. Okay? The best thing we can do is to preserve what we love and what we care about, and let this storm sort of burn itself out. But again, if it gets too close, we've got to sort of protect ourselves energetically, right? So I feel like it's sort of, we're not avoiding conflict, but we're not trying to engage in the conflict either, and because then it's just going to ramp up, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know, the way that we may choose not to argue with somebody because we know things are just going to escalate. And so we may choose a different tactic in order to calm things down. Okay. I want to look at the mystery card, and I want this to be something like a 6 again. I want to see a return to the harmony and return to the sort of beauty and magic that we're really experiencing here. So I want to see this stuff stabilize, either more 4s or 6s or something along those lines. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Here we go. Oh, a 10 of Cups. Yeah, that's nice. The 10 of Cups to me, feels like we are preserving what means something to us, and we're letting the storm pass us by, and it really is a beautiful day after this. Okay? So by handling this in the right way, by asserting yourself, having your boundaries, but not trying to engage in the fight unnecessarily, only if you have to, it's really going to ensure that your life continues to get better and better and better, and that we reach this very happy dream come true kind of best life. 10 of Cups is a very good way to end this, and I think this storm is going to be pretty severe, but it's going to be very, very quick, and you're going to come out just totally fine, unscathed. Okay, and so this is the time for those boundaries. All right. We're going to do an extended reading. We're going to do an I Ching hexagram. We're going to do some oracle cards. There's a link up top. There's a link down below. New readings for Aquarius on Thursdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. The readings are totally free. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.